May 1st, 2024. Today, I'm saying hello from Hamburg. Hamburg is the city of bridges. It is in the Guinness Book of World Records with over 2,500 bridges. That is 6 times more than Venezia. Isn't that amazing? And it's also a city of, I would say, people with a more relaxed attitude, mentality. It's a beautiful city. If you want to go for a run, there is amazing places to go there. And it is the city of Fritz Kola. Fritz Kola is a quite famous and successful German brand. And recently I discovered, this is unpaid advertisement by the way, that there is a book on the business success of Fritz Kola. It was founded in 2003 by 2 friends, and they built a very, very successful German business, and they wrote a book about it, and you can buy it. It's called Fritz and Goliath, and it's a hardcover available in almost every bookstore in Germany and also internationally. But I would say support the business, buy it in their online shop. And really interesting book, quite famous success story, and many, many anecdotes on how to successfully build a brand like this. So right now, this is alcohol free, of course, and today we try to find a differentiation of the non-alcoholic portfolio currently available. I mean, when we talk about alcohol free stuff, we always talk about soda, juices, spritzes, stuff like this, cola, but there is so much other stuff going on, and we try to separate the categories, what usually is behind each category and what we could expect from the quality behind. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Pinot and Pixel podcast episode number 153. I'm saying hello from Hamburg, from the northern part of Germany, second biggest city in Germany. Beautiful city. I love to be here, and it gave me the inspiration for this episode as well. This episode is for you if you're either super interested in alcohol-free products, so product alternatives without alcohol, or if you're thinking about building up your own alcohol-free portfolio in your shop, in your online shop, in your store, magazine, whatever. There is different ways to get an approach to the alcohol-free world, and to me there is basically 3 different ways to put it. The first thing is there has never been any alcohol in it. So this would be my first overall category. The second category is there was alcohol in it, and then it has been removed to one of many processes to remove alcohol from liquids. And the third category, and it's a bit weird to describe and to get your hand on it. The fermentation started and it was stopped or has finished earlier. So there is maybe 0.5 or sometimes in some cases it's 1 or 1.5%. And of course, regulation comes into play when we talk about those kind of products, because usually in most of the countries worldwide, you can only call a product alcohol free when there is less than 0.5 alcohol. But there is, for example, kombucha products that have between 1.5 and 2%. They sometimes try to fit in that category, but of course, this cannot be considered as totally alcohol free. Nevertheless, we will talk about this kind of stuff. Let's start with the category that might be the easiest one. It's the one that has products that have never had any alcohol. And of course there is water in it, there's juices in it, there's sodas in it, there's spritzes in it. And this is probably the biggest category on the planet. And usually when we look at statistics, this is also the category where people come from when they try alcohol-free beer, dealcoholized wine, alcohol-free spirits and mocktails and all that kind of stuff. Because usually people think that those guys come from wine or from beer, so beer and wine loses them. No, it's not that case. Statistics show that people come from water, they're from soda, from juices. So basically, this is the standard category of alcohol-free products. You can consume them. I mean, have a look at the sugar levels, but usually you can consume them. You can consume them without thinking about alcohol. There has never been alcohol in it. And there is some companies that really know what they do. They make great juices from varieties that are just not available anymore or well known from history, but it's quite tough to find them. They're regrown. It's kind of an autochthonous approach we usually know from wine. Alto Adige is quite big, so in northern Italy, in Germany, we have companies every now and then, and also abroad, there is companies that really offer great alcohol-free products where you can buy, I don't know, juices for 20, 25 euro, where the base product is of high quality. Usually it's organically grown, and in the end, you have some great juices that really fit in this category of alcohol-free products. What also comes into play is, of course, grape juice, but grape juice usually is really, really sweet. But there is an alternative that also fits in this category. It's called verjus. Verjus comes from French verjus, green juice. And what it basically means is that you harvest grapes earlier, usually at the end of July, at the beginning of August, and then you press them directly, and then you have grape juice, but with a higher acidity and lower sugar levels. And then some companies add CO2 and maybe sometimes water to give this a fresher feeling on the palate. And this is a very enjoyable drink. And I talked to a Michelin star chef a couple of days ago, and he recommended verjus, for example, for raw fish, for sushi, or in general for food that is higher in fat, and where you can find a really good pairing opportunity of the fat in the food and the acidity in the drink. And then you have this grapiness some people might like, and especially when you are interested in this crafted, low intervention wine category, this is also a very good product for you to go to. And right now, it's getting a bit more difficult. I would say normally right now we would talk about teas, then we would talk about wine, beer, and spirits. So basically the four big categories. And there is two ways to have a wine and two ways to have a beer. But both of the products cannot be called either wine or beer without never have had any alcohol. So I have to either remove the alcohol or I have to start fermentation and then stop it at a very, very low level. But both categories, so beer and wine, is products that have started the fermentation and maybe in the end I have removed the alcohol. Alcohol-free beer is either made with starting the fermentation, stopping around 0.5, and some of those products are set to be closer to the original one because you still have this taste and the mouthfeel of an original beer. And secondly, there is the version of making a normal beer, 5 to 6 alcohol, and then removing the alcohol in one of the different methods that are available. And I guess, and I read some studies on that, when you compare in a blind tasting, when you compare those kind of beers, it's usually said that the beers that have started fermentation and that just have been stopped, they have this closer relation to an original beer. But basically, this is alcohol-free beer. And it's quite similar with wine. You make a wine, a base product, sometimes low in alcohol. People are starting to experiment with, can I harvest earlier to have ripe grapes, make a wine, and then lower the alcohol level? And yeah, I mean, climate change is happening, and it's quite tough to harvest grapes in a ripe state, then make a wine out of it and staying lower than 11 alcohol. This is usually tough, but some wineries manage to do so. But even if I had just 11 of alcohol, I mean, when you reduce it below this magical 0.5 level of can be considered as alcohol-free, it's still a long way to go, and it's quite far away from the original product. Just to me personally, we should not expect this product to be a replacement for the original one, but more kind of an addition. So an additional product for the category, for an evening, for a night out. It's just one more product to drink. What I discover is when I have tastings with people, with colleagues, with friends, and of course also with customers, people usually go in with their wine brain. They try to associate, but this doesn't taste like wine. the product doesn't want to taste like wine. I mean, there's companies that try to imitate, and of course, when you are a big brand and usually you work with lower acidity levels, higher sugar levels, you try to adapt your alcohol-free product to the original ones. And this is the success story of Henkel Freshenet, of Rotkäppchen Mumm, and all the other big brands in the market that play a huge role in the alcohol-free category at the moment, and that are also driving this movement, because they try to imitate, they try to be as close as possible to their original product. When we talk about higher quality, about wine and food pairing, the producers try to create a whole new category. So when we talk about alcohol-free wine, usually you have a base product, a base wine, and then you remove the alcohol. We won't talk about the technical issues behind, but you can do it in a softer way, in a quite easy way, through vacuum distillation, or you can use a more complex process, either spinning cone or, for example, reverse osmosis. And there's differences in between the taste and all this kind of stuff, but we try to focus on the product itself. And today you can find quite cheap alcohol-free wines available from €3 to €4 or dollars in whatever market you are, up to 100, over 100 euros and dollars. And we talked about French Bloom. They have this Blanc de Blanc vintage. It's a Chardonnay from southern France that is made at a very, very high quality level, and this is currently the shining star at the top of this category. And we recently talked about the article of the agricultural minister of Italy, who said, when you remove the wine, please don't call it wine. And maybe we will find a way to call this category, to name this product in a specific way, instead of using the word wine. But currently it also helps the category to grow and to adapt to the market. So basically, beer and wine had alcohol, and we remove it, or we just start the fermentation and then stop it, especially with beer. And then there is two more categories that are really, really interesting. I would start with the alcohol-free spirits, and there it gets a bit difficult. You can either make a spirit, so whiskey, vodka, tequila, and then you take one of those methods. We also have with wine, and you remove the alcohol. And on the one hand, the energy consumption is crazy when we think about removing alcohol from a product that has 30, 40, 50% down to 0.5. And of course, what also comes along with that is when you do a process like this, you lose a lot of the original character of the product. But there is some companies who do that, and they try to imitate the original product, and it's way easier to get close to the original product when you do this kind of dealcoholization. And then there is the other side of the category. It's called alcohol-free spirits, and sometimes they have weird names. I don't know, no vodka or sin, something like this, where you just want to say it's a replacement for the product you usually know as gin or whiskey or vodka, but it has never had any alcohol. So usually it's infused water. So you have water, and then there is herbs added, there is botanicals added, and then they try to imitate the original product. And there are some really, really good categories, some really good products. For example, especially when you go into this Amaro and this bitter category, where you usually play with orange peel, and you have this bitter taste in your mouth. To me, this is one of the most interesting categories, and one of the most weird ones is the replacement of gins and whiskeys. Why is that? Remember a product that is just water with added herbs, and they go through a specific tea-like process. You pay €25 for the bottle, and in the end, I had some really weird products, but they should not stand for the whole category. But in my opinion, if I pay €25, so a very, very high price for this kind of stuff, and I'm only allowed, according to producers, to use it in a mixture, because you cannot drink this purely. Sometimes it tastes, or it reminds me of those toilet stone smell. So this really weird citrus lemon smell, but in a bad way, where you only expect acidity on your palate and just a weird feeling and looking like I'm currently looking in the camera. So this is tough. And of course, why should I buy a product that I can only mix with Schweppes and mixers and all this kind of stuff, but I cannot drink it purely. And there is some products who are well made and of higher quality, but of course you also have to pay for that. But usually it's made for mixes, for cocktails, and then you have to consider for your own, on your own, if you want to have this kind of product, if you want to use this. I tasted some products where the alcohol has been removed, and they were quite interesting and also drinkable in a pure way, but without adding any mixers and sodas. And then lastly, we have the category of teas and of kombuchas. And there's also two different ways to approach. On the one hand, there are teas that have never had any alcohol. They're just made in a way like a tea is made. So you have a combination of different herbs and then you put it in hot water and you get this infusion, the feeling, and especially when you're a big fan of tea in general. And I like tea very much. I drink a lot of tea. So it's quite close to this sparkling tea revolution that is going on. I tasted great products from Scandinavia, from Eastern Europe. And this is basically where this kind of stuff comes from. Also from Asia, of course, because I mean, especially Japan has a huge tea culture. And so have a look at this category, and especially when they are made to be a food pairing partner, high quality, very tasty, complex. And when you are a wine lover, there is products available where you find everything you expect from a normal wine. So you have complexity, you have balance, you have length, you have the intensity, you have aromas and flavors available just to talk about, to enjoy, and to pair with wine and food, of course. And secondly, there is the other side of the category where you play with fermented tea, with kombucha, where you have some alcohol in the product, but usually at a very low level, maybe comparable to an alcohol-free beer. And they are also quite tasty. And this also opens up a whole new category. There's so much amazing stuff going on. They are barely available, especially in Central Europe. But if you have the chance to dive deeper into this category of fermented teas, of kombuchas, just go for it. Sometimes they're available at a very fair price level, between 10 and 20 euro, dollars, pounds, whatever your currency is. Try those kind of products. It's really interesting. And if you like tea, if you drink tea in normal situations, this is also your category to go. So you see, there's many stuff going on. There's a whole new portfolio growing, a whole new segment is growing, and it's worth a try. And I'm not talking about get away from your wine or from your beer and go to this category. No, it's just an additional category that is available for us human beings to enjoy food with a good drink, or just a drink on the terrace with friends during social gatherings in a business context. There's so much going on, and it does not have to be with alcohol. It could, I mean, if you decide to celebrate your birthday, to have a party, or just to do wine and food pairing with alcohol, this is totally fine. I just wanted to show there is a whole new category that is definitely worth a try and an exploration. So thank you very much for listening. Have a great week. See you on Saturday with the weekly road up. Ciao, ciao.